Hello everyone, my name is Mary, and today I'd like to read to you one of my blog posts entitled My Forever Friend. And the person we're talking about is somebody that I knew and someone I loved and someone I lost this past year. So this is a personal story, and if you're not interested in personal stories about me, please feel free to click off of this video. It's not for you. I have plenty of videos that you might enjoy, but this is a personal story, and the person we're talking about is this lady right here, and her name is Heidi Liebert Fine. And I lost, the world lost her January of 2023, and I wrote a blog post, I wrote a tribute to her shortly after that. And this picture, I gotta say that their family chose to honor her. This picture is perfect. It's just got that, she's got that mischievous, otherworldly smile. And this picture, her eyes follow you wherever you go. And I keep it in my living room, and she's always looking at me. So here, without further ado, is my blog post. It's called My Forever Friend. I hope they have cronuts in heaven. A few months ago, I was visiting my friend who had just been gifted a delivery of delicious cronuts, the love child of a donut and a croissant, and was telling me about them. Have you ever had a cronut? They're amazing. Heaven better have cronuts or I'm not going, she joked. We laughed as we played out the scene. There's St. Peter at the entrance to heaven, unlocking the pearly gates with a magnificent flourish. Welcome to heaven. The angels are singing your praises. We have long awaited your coming, he says, gesturing her to enter. One question, my dear friend Heidi would say. Do you have cronuts? When we laughed at this mock scene, she was already dying of brain cancer. My friend Heidi died only a couple months later, in January of 2023, at the young age of 45. Heidi was my first friend, my best friend. We knew each other as babies. Our families were close, and we saw each other all the time. She was the one who made the happy times happier. She was the one who felt both familiar and brand new every time we were together. I was a shy, sensitive kid, and she was a bouncy, tender-hearted girl filled with life. We loved planning adventures, playing games, and telling stories. Sometimes we pretended we were rich hotel owner sisters with the world at our feet, Michelle and Diane Summers. When we were together, we lived in a fantasy world where anything was possible. Her imagination and her zest for life fascinated me. She had a deep and abiding respect for life. She loved the people, the animals, and the nature all around her. She loved exploring her little world. She loved the people in her life and talked about them like they were rock stars. Everything about life was food for her. She loved her family and hated to be away from them. Everything in life was fresh and wonderful when I shared it with her. She always had some new mystery or scheme up her sleeve. She was dramatic in her own childish way, and I loved it. When I think of her, I think of the way she held the lid over the Kraft mac and cheese water to get it to boil faster. Her house with all the nooks and crannies where we would sit and talk. Our joint love of ice cream. The way she gently held her favorite teddy bear as if it were real. The way it felt when she would hug me. The way her eyes lit up with the promise of any new adventure. She lived her life with her whole heart. She was a backyard, homemade, life is magical kind of kid. During childhood, her family owned a lake house. It was her kingdom. Animals, ducks, trees, crayfish, even the seaweed on the lake was beautiful to her. I was the one who feared crayfish, didn't like the smell of seaweed, and slipped on the rocks in the creek. She was the one who loved adventures in the woods and wasn't afraid of getting dirty. I sometimes think she was a fairy, a forest sprite, who got lost in the real world and became human for a time. Maybe she was never meant for this world. She was eager to participate in my schemes and plans. We used to pretend to be Madonna and Cyndi Lauper performing in front of screaming audiences on the stage of my bed. We used to stay up in my family room during sleepovers, talking and making each other laugh. We made craft projects out of puffballs and sold them to our family members at our outrageously overpriced gift shop in the basement of my house. Halftime during my family's Super Bowl party was our biggest sale day of the year. As we grew older, we grew apart. For a couple of years, we went to the same high school but sat at different tables. She sat at the table full of down-to-earth sporty-type girls, whereas I sat at the table full of girls who were shy like me. She made friends easily. We still hung out, went to the mall, and talked, but childhood was over. For her, growing up was just another adventure to explore. While she was out experiencing life, I was dealing with epilepsy. I always thought that when I finally became a grown-up with a pocket full of confidence, poise, and all the answers, we would get the magic of our childhood friendship back again. What I didn't realize was that grown-up friendships take a lot more work, but they are much more worth it. We did get together every now and then, and we always laughed as if no time had passed. We always said we'd be friends forever, no matter what life dealt us. She reveled in all her experiences. Every new struggle made her stronger. Every year was a victory. While I was struggling to find my confidence, she boldly claimed hers. She lived her life on purpose, and I always admired that about her. We did reconnect in a profound way over the past year when she was struck with brain cancer. During some of her darkest days in the hospital, she called me and left a poignant voicemail that broke my heart. She said she was scared and needed her best friend. I called and talked to her. I saw her as soon as I could, but to be honest, I was terrified. How could my childhood friend, that delightful forest sprite who loved life, be suffering? I always took it for granted that she would be around for the rest of my life. She even promised me, when we were kids, to be my best friend forever, and I was going to hold her to it. I foolishly thought that God would give us another tomorrow. This is one of the first times God took a close friend away whom I wasn't ready to give up. I keep thinking this past year has been a bad dream. I still don't quite believe it. I can't believe I saw her decline. I can't believe I sang a song to her as she lay in her casket at the funeral. I keep thinking I'm going to wake up and find that Heidi is still with us and that God has given me one more tomorrow. Heidi Liebert Fine loved her life. She lived fully, not perfectly, but fully. She loved her family, reveled in every new challenge, always looked to the bright side of things, strove to become a more compassionate and better human, and never stopped laughing. She is on the other side now. I wish I could extract from her some bit of wisdom that will make sense of everything that has happened. Maybe if I study the subjects she did, or do the types of things she liked to do. But no, each of us has our own version of living. Each of us has our own view, our perspectives, our delights, and our own fears. She mastered hers. What I learned from Heidi: live on purpose, live like you'll die someday, and never say no to dessert. Dear God, please have cronuts in heaven. I have tried to film this video many times, and I break down in tears every time. Or else I'm so stoic that I'm just like an automaton. I'm like, I'm not gonna cry, and it's just like empty. I feel like this might be the one that I post. Anyway, I wanted to tell a little story, just so if this is not interesting to you, I again encourage you to click off the video, but here's a little story from our childhood. She was sleeping over my house one day. This is a dumb story. This is a little story. She was sleeping over my house one day, and We got up early and went downstairs to have breakfast. We were having Cheerios. I was having my Cheerios with milk, and I think she was having hers dry. And so then we heard a sound in the basement. Now, to understand this part of the story, I think I gotta go back to another story, separate, non-Heidi related story. My brother's friend would always like joke and tease my brothers about like my dad, about how he would always be in the basement, like, you know, doing stuff, building things, and the saw is going, and he'd just be working on projects at the weirdest time of day, like at night, you know, we'd hear the saw going in the basement, and my brother's friend is like, what's going on down there? Like, what is he doing at, you know, 11 o'clock at night? Anyway, so most likely the noise that we heard was my dad in the basement doing something, you know, or probably got up early and was doing something in the basement. Anyway, we noticed that the door to the basement was open, and our first thought, Heidi and I, was that there was a burglar who had come up into the house through the basement. And so, because there's a door to the house that is, you know, through the basement. The basement has a door to the outside. And so I'm like, that's it. He came in through the basement. And we have, like, together our imaginations would just go wild. So Heidi and I just hightailed it upstairs to the top of the stairs. And of course, she brought the cereal box and her bowl of cereal with her. I left my cereal behind. She brought it with her. She was ready. She was going to be prepared for the, you know, for the long haul, for however long it would take us, however long we'd be up there, you know, fighting the burglar. Anyway, so we're at the top of the stairs, and we hear noises still coming from the basement. And so we're sure it's a burglar. We're sure he's down there. What we do, our imagination is like, okay, he's stealing stuff. He's stealing the stereo. He's down there stealing stuff. And so we locked ourselves in the bathroom. This time she did not bring the cereal. I think she only brought her bowl with her, not the box. She still brought the cereal into, you know, we thought, there's a burglar in the house. For sure there's a burglar in the house. But she's bringing her cereal. She's bringing her Cheerios. So she's got the bowl of Cheerios, and she's eating it, and I'm eating it. And we're like, what do we do? Like, we're just locked in the bathroom now? And Heidi's like, we can't spend the rest of our lives in the bathroom. Let's get him. And so I look underneath the crack where the door meets the floor, and I saw an object out there. And I had forgotten that we brought the Cheerios box up there. I just saw like this box type item, you know. I didn't know what it was. I had forgotten, obviously, about the Cheerios, and I'm like, there's a box. He's got our TV in a box that's right out there. And Heidi's like, open the door. Let's get him. And I'm like, no, Heidi, we're not doing this. And so she opens up the cabinet to the sink and pulls out the Windex and holds the Windex like a gun. And she's like, all right, open the door. And I'm like, this guy has something worse than Windex. We're not opening the door. And she's like, it's going to burn his eyes. Really, it's going to, trust me, I got this. And so she was bravely ready to face the burglar. And she even like sprayed some of the Windex onto her finger and touched it to her eye and was like, yeah, it burns. Open the door. Like she was so ready to defend me. She was so ready to tackle the burglar. There was no burglar. It was probably my dad in the basement. The one who actually saved us, I think, was my brother, who had to use the bathroom. It was knocking on the bathroom door. Anyway, there was no burglar, but I remember this story because this was Heidi all over again. You know, imagination going crazy. She was filled with life and filled with spunk and, you know, ready to save the day. Anyway, so there's a little story about Heidi. Um, so I always end these videos with a prayer. So my prayer for you, for me, and for all of us is that we live our lives fully and completely and bravely and on purpose, just the way Heidi did. God bless you, Heidi, wherever you are. Amen. See you next time.